Hello, it's Judy Bartkowiak here, NLP and EFT Kids. I sound like an answer phone, don't I? Or a voice message. Um, it's Sunday and school goes back this week, and it just caused me to reflect, I suppose, on how I used to feel before going back to school all those years ago. And I just wanted to comment really on VAK, visual, auditory, and kinesthetic, which is how we process our world. Some of us are more visual and we notice what we see and how we look and how our surroundings look. We're very conscious of colour, quite creative. Um, Sort of what we see, we really notice. Auditory is where you notice what you hear. I'm quite auditory, which is why I quite like doing podcasts and chatting. And music and sound can affect us quite a lot. And then there's kinesthetic, which is more about the body, about movement, about sort of awareness of atmosphere, space, temperature, food, and all of those things. And I'm auditory kinesthetic, so I can particularly relate to going back to school and feeling my clothes feeling very awkward, having worn sort of shorts and casual stuff all summer, sort of, lighter weight clothes, being able to choose what I would wear, and have soft shoes, sort of trainers, or even just go barefoot in the summer. Um, Getting into a school uniform was just absolute murder. It was horrible. It felt so tight and constricting. Perhaps mum had bought me, new shirts or whatever, and they felt like sort of rough on my skin. They felt uncomfortable. So there was the whole physical thing, the physicality of one's clothes and having to sort of comb your hair and have it maybe tied back. I felt very, very physically uncomfortable. And then there's the whole thing about being in a classroom with other people where you've perhaps not been close to other people for a while, certainly in that confined space, with the sort of restrictions that there might be about whether you can open a window or not, certainly restrictions as to where you can sit, how you can sit. You have to sit in a certain way, don't you? Behind the desk or behind the table. You have to be quiet. You can't chat, even though you haven't seen your friends the whole summer, perhaps, and you're desperate to have a chat. But no, you have to be quiet. You have to focus. You have to concentrate for what seems like a very long time if you're kinesthetic, because you're fidgety, you want to move, you don't want to sit still. And then, you've got to then walk to another classroom, maybe have another lesson, and all you want to do is get outside in the fresh air, run around, move, chat, and just be free. So I just wanted to share that sort of personal insight with you. Oh, food as well, I have to say. Yes, at home during the summer holidays, you felt a bit peckish. You can ask mum, what is there to eat? You'd have something to eat when you felt like it, or not eat when you didn't feel like it. And of course, you then back to school, you have the structure of when you can and can't eat. And maybe if you're kinesthetic and you're feeling very nervous about going back to school, you may not want to eat in the morning. You may be feeling slightly sicky or slightly uncomfortable. So I am feeling for all of you who have children who are quite kinesthetic. You'll know who they are. They're very fidgety, and they want to move. They don't concentrate for a long period of time. They sort of quite want to flip between one thing and another, full of energy. If they're hungry, they're grumpy. They need to eat when they need to eat and what they need to eat. You may feel that they're fussy, but actually they are really connected on the whole to their body and what their body wants at that particular time. So yes, I'm sending out vibes of compassion and support for all of you parents who have kinesthetic children, because the back to school time is going to be more challenging, and you're going to need perhaps more patience than those who have more visual or auditory children. And it's something that I'm sure teachers are very aware of, because they certainly in the past have sent out things to parents explaining visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. But what I've found from other parents is that they've said that yes, they do send those out, but they don't explain how it might manifest itself with your child and how to bear that in mind when you're talking to them. So, for example, whereas when you're talking to a visual child about going back to school, you might say something like, "Oh, I expect you're looking forward to seeing your friends." You use seeing words. Imagine what it's going to be like, the playground full of your friends. Words like imagine, seeing, look at the time. I think we need to see ourselves in the car going to school soon. That sounds a bit strange, doesn't it? But anything like seeing, looking. The reason, of course, it sounds a bit strange to me is because I am not visual. So those words probably will seem strange to me. So seeing words, looking words, and so on will work very well with a visual child. An auditory child will be, oh, you're going to be chatting to your friends soon. You're going to be having a laugh with them. You're going to be telling them about what you've been up to. So again, auditory, you would use words like talking, chatting, telling, listening, those sort of words. Kinesthetic, well, it's all about doing words, get a move on, and get dressed, let's get our act together, very much action words and body words, feeling words too. I expect you're feeling excited. You may be feeling a bit nervous. That's very natural. That's very normal. So those sort of words. Make sure with a kinesthetic child that you have plenty of little snacks and things for them, that they can munch on during the day so that they aren't hungry, because kinesthetics do tend to be, as I say, quite, what do they say, hungry? Although a lot of children get like that. But during the first week back at school, of course, when everything feels so different, there's, yes, that excitement about seeing your friends, and perhaps, boredom factor has crept in at home, and, it's going to be quite fun going back to school for some. For others, it isn't. But for others, on that first morning, there can be panic, there can be fear, anxiety, worry, and all of those sort of things. So in that particular case, you really need to be focusing on breathing, especially with a kinesthetic child, breathing, sort of slow, deep breaths. It sounds a bit ridiculous, me then doing the breathing, because obviously you can't see me. I do have a YouTube channel, NLP Kids. There's loads of examples on there. Also on my Instagram, you can see loads of pictures of me breathing and tapping. If there's anything at all that I can help you with, please get in touch, because I'm really here to help you with your children. I offer a completely free half an hour discovery call, and you can get that from my website. Judy at judybartkowiak.com is my email address, and the website is judybartkowiak.com. And as I have a totally unspellable name, it's Judy, Judy, Bartkowiak, Bartkowiak. As you'll see on my books, if you happen to have some of those. Anyway, I wish you well with this week that's coming up. You may be listening to this well after this week, but sometimes, the back to school can emerge a little later. You can have that initial excitement about going back to school, or initial nerves and things. You settle back into it, but then I quite often find that by sort of half term in October, there's then another little wave, really, that the novelty has worn off, and you then get that sort of anxiety. Maybe you've made loads of friends to start with, but then actually they've maybe fallen away a bit, or you're sort of a bit lost, you're not quite sure of what's going on. There can be all sorts of things that pop up, as the term progresses. Does settle down a bit after that. But anyway, I wish you well with the back to school, and hope that in your own lives, where you're not going back to school, unless you're a teacher, of course, that getting back into the swing of things goes well, and with whatever you're planning for yourself this term. So thank you and goodbye.